Ladies and gentlemen, we are with a guy here. We're getting in a very progressive part of this history research. He's part of the Imagination team, which is the one we saw from Dixon Modis. And he was referred as the guy who organized the Imagination team. He's going to introduce himself. And this is going to be, I consider this a progressive part of this history. Uh, I'm going to ask him for his background. Maybe he's going to tell us his background and how he get into the soccer/football and how did the imagination form. So I'll turn the floor over to this gentleman here, and he will give us all the information we need. So if you wanna, the floor is
Thank you,
yours,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, so Craig Wellington, and when I came in to Canada, I kind of migrated here just around my 13th birthday. So having come from yard, come from Jamaica, and spent about 3 years in 2.5 years in high school there, and came up here to Canada with my family, and just the whole immigrant experience and just working and so on and so forth. So we played ball when we got here. I mean, I played prep school ball in Jamaica, but left young. And then when I came here in high school, played ball at high school here, played club football as well. But know it is when you just come and you have all the pressures and all of that, and just trying to survive and that. So football kind of got pushed a little bit on the side.
What year was that you came in?
Well, I came in 1980. So
Okay.
March of 1980, right in the spring, boom, landed right in the thing. But what happened now is once we got into university at York University, and as I said, now my family has background in sports and all kind of thing. In my grandfather was one of the top cricket writers in the Caribbean. My uncle and godfather Alva Anderson was the best high school footballer in Jamaica at one time. I did the trophy for that and went overseas, and he went to Cambridge University and did.
What part of Jamaica?
Pardon?
What part of Jamaica was he?
Yeah, he's from Kingston, and he went to Cambridge University, and I mean I've gone on, graduated Cambridge University, and head on the National Housing Trust and all that kind of thing, and Order of Jamaica. And of course, I have pedigree of my cousin Jason Bent, my younger cousin, is
Jason Bent is your cousin.
yeah, coaches
Okay.
with from the TFC, now moved on to LA Galaxy, and of course played for the national team, Canadian national team from time. So we have a pedigree of sports in the family. So when we went to university, because that was one of the things that we always pushed, me, my brother and sisters, get to university. And my brother went to Yale in the States. All of us went to university here. And then what York was, the beauty of York University is it was a melting pot with bringing people from all over the world. So, and a lot of us came together, and it was also a place where there was a lot of activism, social activism, because of course York University is right in the middle of Jane and Finch.
There you
So
go.
even while we were there, we were very active, and there was a lot going on at that time in Canada. I mean, Lester Donaldson, the killing of Lester Donaldson by police, and
Mhm.
that trial started, and there was a lot of upheaval in Toronto, and my friends and I got involved with that. And I remember I sat as a 21-year-old then, sat in the courtroom during the trial of the police,
Mhm.
and all of them got off for self-defense.
Was the sentiment within York now, seeing that you guys were active in that?
Yeah, so we got pulled into a lot of activism there because of that. We had by a couple of friends of mine, and Sam Cole, who was one of my best friends, who played football as well. And Sam always was playing, was a big footballer. And Sam, whose background is Trinidadian, his father, Sam Cole Sr., was one of the founders of Caribana, right? So the original articles of incorporation for the Caribana Festival had Sam Cole's name on it, including the mandate about the festival revenues going into buying a community center for the Black community. So we were in the heart of this. We developed a radio show.
But all this is like new information. So my question is now, how you guys incorporate all these things from what you mentioned in there, activism and everything else, and still come up with this idea of playing soccer?
Well, this is the thing, because at a certain point, again, it was kind of a melting pot of people. So we had in our friends group of people in the university from Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, Barbados, all the islands, Africa, and all of us are together. And a bunch of us had started, we've been playing all the way along, and we've been playing for all of these different teams, Italian teams, Greek teams, teams in the Portuguese league and all of that. And remember just sitting down one time and we're all talking about it. And several of us had played for the York University team. Sam actually had come from Trent University. He had played against the York University team. And one of the things many of us had is kind of just felt in terms of there was some kind of undercurrents there that we didn't feel that we wanted to be a part of it. And there was others who came in and some of our fellow members who came in, and Dixon talked about it, going in and having the coach look at it. So, well, we don't play rookies and all of that kind of stuff, freshmen. And it absolutely was ridiculous. Dixon was the best defender, would have been the best defender that they had. Sam recalls playing against the York team when he was playing for Trent, and some comments which he felt were, as I would say, racially charged against him when he was playing. So he refused to ever play for York. So what we did at York is we got together and we used to just kick ball in the gym and thing. And then we put together a team indoor, and we used to go like, they used to go barnstorming tours. And we used to go and take on the football teams of other colleges and universities. We would just come to their training session and take them on. I remember Humber used to bring us down all the time, because after we came and we just they're kicking around and beat up on the Humber team.
So let me get this clear. You're outside of the York official team.
Yes.
You have your unit, your buddies and them, and you found a way to stay organized. And these colleges, would that the official colleges you were playing against?
This is the official college teams.
So you guys must have been at a certain level that it's a good practice with the other colleges then.
Oh, we weren't just a good practice, we were beating them.
Okay, and what did the coach in York think about that?
Well, we played against the York team one time. One time we challenged the York team. Yes, coming and we played them too. But again, there were guys on our team who had played for the York team, like Anthony Daly and those guys, Prince Owusu, played with us, who had played for York before, who again decided to leave because, again, as we were becoming more conscious, there were certain things that we would not accept. We became very conscious of what was happening around us, and that was where, even in the football, so it was we had a radio show where we were bringing in the chief of police, Julian Fantino, from Jane and Finch, where there was a lot of racial incidents, where we would bring him on the radio show and interview him and challenge him. And we sat down and said, but listen, man, we're playing football for all of these Italian teams and Greek team and Portuguese team and Scottish and English teams. We need to do something for our community. We need to go play for our community. And back then, all these teams we played with are paying money, right?
All right. So this song that Flemo was starting to ring a bell now. Seeing that your name was called as the person who instigated the Flemo, how did you know about Flemo, and who did you contact in the Flemingdon League? So first to begin, you came in as Imagination.
Yes.
That name, did you guys brainstorm the name, or how you managed to say, okay, we go into Flemingdon League as Imagination, and wrap that whole thing up for me? Like, you decide on the name, you decide you're going on Flemingdon League, And then what was the whole situation when you got there?
Well, as I say, it's a group of we sitting there in the cafeteria eating roti and patty and playing dominoes and brainstorming about the same we have to do this. And then we was talking about, okay, we're going to do it, so where? And then talk came up, what about Flemingdon Park? What about Flemo? How about we do it? So we said, all right, let's go do some research here about Flemo. And more we said, yeah, that sounds like a place. And the more we talked, the more other people come in and say, I'm in, and that. So as it evolved now, the name Imagination was actually Nikki Davis, who was one of our, who was did a radio show with me and Sam, and we did a lot of stuff, again, a lot of social activism. He and his brothers had a DJ group, Imagination Sound, which used to play all over. And he came in and he said, well, I will come in as a manager of the team, and our DJ group, Imagination, will sponsor it. So we said, we're calling that Imagination, right?
And you got into how you got into Flemo now.
Yeah. So
everything is in place now. I guess the DJ groups probably
yes, man,
putting up the money.
Yeah, so DJ group put up some of the money, and I think is a couple of the guys had some girlfriends who put in the rest to sponsor, but that's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
We decided now to go in, and then we reached out, and I believe it was Roy who reached out and went to register there, and we came out, got the gears ready, got everything ready and trash out. And then we look now and started doing some training session and pulling guys in to now form and pick the team. So again, the majority of this team is based at York University. And again, so it's a bunch of guys all in university who kind of, again, very social, progressive, and so on.
No player was from outside the York University.
We did have some, but the majority.
Okay. All right.
I would say a core of about 7 players were from York, and then we had other guys who came in and pulled. And we had guys like, as I say, Rocky, who was here, Rocky Coombs.
Yeah.
Rocky Coombs, when he was 16, had been called to Toronto Blizzard, right? Mm-hmm. Sam had been called to the Toronto Blizzard. Sam Cole had been called to the Toronto Blizzard when he was, so that was while we were at university. So we had some top level player, Dixon.
So, all right. So here we go, Flemo. For all those Flemo, this is York University coming in, and all these guys you're talking about right now. Let's see how they feel at Flemo. So you're into Flemo.
Yeah.
What's the situation when you were coming in and the decision was made? Did any of you guys watch the league?
Yeah.
Before you come in?
Yeah, and like Prince Owusu was on our team. He had actually been around the league, and I played with various teams because he played all over with some African teams and so on and so forth. And he had seen the level of the league, and I think Rocky had been there and seen it, but most of us hadn't seen it before.
So okay, so let's see how you think. How you hadn't seen it, right?
I had not seen it.
Okay, so give me a taste.
Out there now for the first time, and I'll always remember when they line everybody up the first time, all the teams in thing and
March pass,
and they have a big, the whole thing, and everybody, we're here in brotherhood. And all I remember as they're talking about everybody hold hands and we're talking about brotherhood, and Rocky lean over to me and say, yeah, they're talking about brother. As soon as the whistle blow, that same man go try broke your leg, eh? But yeah, so we had some players, and we had, David Knight was on the team, who was he was lightning fast, was a guy on our team. I think he may still be part of the Jamaican record for high school 4x400 meter relay team. So lightning fast on our week. So we had some.
Let me tweak your mind here a bit. What happened in your first game? Let's see. I'm gonna go deep into your mind now. You remember what happened in your first game?
I remember we won. I remember what happened is when we came in, and again, the people looking and saying who these guys, a bunch of university boys and thought we weren't serious. And we came in, we won the first game. I think we won the second game. I think maybe we got a tie at 3. And then we started getting this momentum. And at one point we went, I think it was 4 or 5 games we didn't lose. So when we had all of our players, we could play with anybody. And I remember that first year meeting up with spoilers in the cup finals because we took out the Flemingdon Park team in the semis. And when we took them out, we took out Flemingdon, knocked them out, and we were just beating up on them, and they were getting frustrated. I remember I was playing center back, and they just kept sending guys in now because I was, nothing was getting past us.
Yeah,
nothing was getting past us, and and it bacchanal broke out, man. I remember that, and Sam in the middle of the thing doing a Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech in the middle of the thing while people chasing with rocks to it.
Yeah, so I didn't even remember that you played spoiler in the final.
Yes,
but I knew when I did zoom in on Dixon, it had to be in the cup games because you guys were because it was so tight. You guys were utilizing that long throw.
Dixon had a long throw, man. Dixon, again, we didn't know about it until we got into the games because it's not something he was doing when we were practicing because we would just practice at the game. And Dixon would just say, go, just jump in there. And Dixon flinging this ball right into, it was like a corner. And then you had guys like Rocky and Sam at the end of it. Rocky and Sam were lethal. I mean, Rocky was scoring goals for fun.
Yeah, Rocky was deadly. I picked out Rocky as deadly. You had even Daly was deadly. You have two Tonys. You had Rocky. I mean, I don't think another team had three forwards like those three forwards.
Our team had some players, and in the midfield we had some ballers who can hold on to the ball, and Sam would drop in the thing. And Sam was probably is the most two-footed player I've ever played with. That you cannot tell which foot he was using, because I remember once years later we were playing in another league, and I remember Anthony Daly standing beside me and goes, "What's Sam doing?" And we watching, and Sam was taking free kicks with his left foot. And we said, "Sam, what happened?" And he said, "Man, I think I might have broken my toe on my right foot." We said, "When that happened?" He said, "Man, about a couple of months ago." And we realized at that point Sam was leading the league in goals, and he was only using his left foot. And that's the kind of level of talent.
But so you did reach the final.
Yeah, and I think after that,
what happened? But you only played 1 year in Flemingdon. Let me ask you to T&D. You ever had a teacher at T&D?
Actually, with Irie. So right after Flemo, and you recruited some of the our top imagination players in Sam and Rocky and Dixon, and brought them over to Irie when you were coaching Irie, and in '87, and that really turned around Irie's season. I remember Rocky was scoring goals for fun. Sam and Dixon was a rock at the back. So then I used to come and watch the games there, and then indoor now, we all played indoor with Irie for the indoor training and stuff like that, and then kind of rolled into the outdoor season in '88, and I played with Irie. Of course, Rocky was there. Sam was still there for the year. And great player like Julian King and so on the teams and so on between the two teams. So yeah, that was a great time, man. So we all did that. But we had a team. Now we shifted indoor.
So let the people get this right. So you discontinued with Flemingdon, but you guys stayed together.
Yeah, we stayed together, and we would come in, especially in indoor and around Mississauga, because then Soccer City was that was the place, right, where the top teams and stuff were playing at that time. So we now transferred there, and we had a team, Toronto Ashanti. So basically the same core team, but we added players like Yan Yoon from Spoilers. Dixon was on the team. Brought in guys like Johnny Williams, Derek Wilson, who is my brother-in-law too. Carlos Redmond was on that team. Julian King, Colin Price, Basic Chance. All of these guys were playing. Anton Skerritt. It was stacked. I mean, we ran through the league, and then the next year we did it again. And we had just almost a who's who coming through that team. And then from that now, again, the core of it, after the indoor, this team, Oakville Sporting, kind of recruited a bunch of us over. And Oakville Sporting at that point was coached by Chris Savory, who, I mean, Chris Savory was a baller from Trinidad, junior national team. He had actually been.
He played at Flemo too.
Yes, man. And Chris, because when Chris was young, after he left Trinidad, he came to Canada. And Chris tells me the story all the time. Stuttgart, who Kevin Keegan was playing for at that time, they actually recruited him. And Chris turned it down. He turned it down at that time.
Yeah.
And it's something he says he always regrets because he says, as a young man,
Chris was a dynamite player. Dynamite.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So seeing that you have this type of exposure now from the Flemingdon and you went these other leagues with these top class players, how you merit the Flemingdon? How would you class Flemingdon as a league, as something for the community? How that experience, and it's 1 year, so it must have been an impact in and out. How would you class Flemingdon?
I think the top teams in Flemingdon could play with anybody. And they were, you had stacked players from all over. And you had teams in the Flemingdon Park, which were all-star teams, which were basically all-star collections of teams. And you had some which were, like Spoilers and stuff. Spoilers is because one of the things about Spoilers is not just the talent on the team, it is the organization and management behind it, right? Spoilers was an organization, it's a culture. So you have teams like that understand the history and so on. And Flemingdon was full of that. Teams like Ebony from Malton. A lot of things. We used to love our battles against Malta. I remember we played a game against them, and they again had some speedsters up front, and Daly was playing for them at that time. They had some power, and I remember they were playing against us. Because I was the coach of the team at the time. So at the time I'm playing, I'm coaching, which was very interesting at that time. But I remember I used to have to drive around and grab a bunch of guys. And one time I had to pick up, it's about 4 guys I had to pick up, including Sam, including David Knight, including Marlon, our star midfielder. And by the time we reached the game, it's halftime.
Whoa.
And we were down 3-0 to Ebony. So then at halftime now we change everything around, and I organize everything around, put our guys in. And in the second half, we run them off the field, man. I think it ended up 3-2. But I will always remember.
Yeah. Imagination had zest, and skill zest.
Yes, man. And it was a great. The talent was great, and every time you came, you had to bring your best game because, guys, it's a passion. They play with the passion.
And then just in closing, where you in the game? Understand you're coaching, you're moving to coaching. So besides coaching at Flemingdon, did the coaching at Flemingdon with the senior guys help you with your coaching career? And I understand even coaching, I don't know if you coach your son, but your son is an entity now in the soccer/football world?
Yeah, so as I said, from then, because I coached a team at Flemingdon, and then when we moved on now to Ashanti and all of that, I coached a team. And then when we moved to Oakville Sporting, which was playing in the T&D, and we played in the Ontario Cup semifinals with Azuri. We lost on penalty kicks to Azuri's OSA team. So we were a really strong team. And I was the assistant coach on that time with Chris Savory. So I always coached, and then my son now started coming into football, and I coached him all the way along with Brampton East when they played, and they were Ontario champions, and he moved to he was playing with Spartacus, again Ontario champions, indoor and outdoor, and I coached him all the way up until he was 18 when he went to play NCAA. And then he left that and went to play with the Toronto Lynx. And now, So now I'm just a fan, and he now coaches because he's a head coach with head trainer with the Burlington Soccer Academy, and he plays professionally in Iceland. And was his first year in Iceland, he was league MVP. He was
What year he was the MVP in the Iceland?
That was 3 years ago. 3 years ago. So he's there now. So
he plays?
Pardon me?
What position he plays?
My son is looks like Paul Pogba. He's 6'3.5" and plays every position on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Full of skill. Because when he was playing here in Canada, I mean the teams he was on, he was playing holding midfield, but was the third leading scorer in the league, and was the best. He was a brilliant player. So he's played all over here, CPSL.
That's a skillful student of the game.
Yeah, man. And
I mean, you can see the openings.
Yeah, I mean when he played with when he played with Toronto Lynx with their team, they reached all the way to the cup finals with the Lynx the semi-pro team, because then he was still NCAA, so you couldn't play with the pro team. They reached the finals with one of the I can't remember which one, with Kansas MLS. Their MLS reserve team was the final youth team. So
well, let me just ask you one other thing with the community. Is my understanding that you had part to do with the Caribana Cup, where Caribbean Stars played a CNSL All-Star team and they played a team from the community. And maybe if you know exactly how that came to be, I would like to hear. It would make very interesting hearing from me right now.
Oh, absolutely. And that's again a place where the football and the community aspect came together, because one of the reasons I came to Caribana at that point in time when that whole thing arose, I was head of marketing for the Caribana Festival. And of course, Sam Cole, who had played football with us on that Flemingdon team, his father was one of the original founders of Caribana, along with another friend of mine, Alpha King, his father. So that's what brought me to Caribana in the first place. And when I came in there now, and I was in charge of sponsorships and so on, that's when the Canadian Soccer Association had put together this. I tried to put together this Caribana Cup, taking the Caribana name without engaging Caribana, and that was involved a 3-team tournament with Team Canada, Team Jamaica, and Team Trinidad and Tobago were coming to play in Varsity Stadium. So Lennox Farrell, who at that point in time was the head of Caribana, and others spoke out and took it to the CSA and challenged them, because they said this has to be an opportunity for the community. It has an opportunity to showcase the community. And as a result of that, it became a partnership with Caribana, and the Caribbean Stars team brought in their team, and there was a community all-star team to play against that as well. So it was a showcase for our talent right there in front of the Canadian national team coaches, in front of the other stuff. So these are the kinds of things that were important, that they were integrated. And that was an amazing tournament. It was amazing vibe of what that represented. So that was an exceptional time. So that's when kind of I transitioned from when I was a player and then a player coach into kind of the administration side of the thing. And it's always great to when things it kind of comes full circle, and to see so many other people that I had played with in Flemo and in other leagues there as part of it as well, and to see the team that I represented, the country I represent, and Trinidad and so on, and seeing so many players. It was a fantastic opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
I remember I brought in Roots as a sponsor, and they came up with a beautiful designed Roots t-shirt with one of the design for the Caribana Cup that we developed for the t-shirts by Roots. The design of it was actually Garnet Gibson, who played with us as a forward with imagination in Flemingdon Park. So again, everything all kind of tie back together. And he came to the match Jamaica against Trinidad and sat down beside me there watching it, man. So it was a nice vibe. Nice vibe. I always remember that link.
I remember one of my players, and you might know him. I think he's back in Grenada, Shane Marshall. You remember Shane?
Yes, I remember
Shane
Shane.
said to me, he was on the bench and in one of the games, and he said to me, Midget, look where we come to from Flemo to Varsity Stadium, I love this, what I mean? And with him saying it, I just look at the field because the game wasn't playing yet. It was pre-game and stuff.
Yes.
The teams had to come out. But you entertained the thought, and as you're saying, the community did get an opportunity to showcase most of the players. And when it came to me, when Noel and Chunda and Oxfarrell, they came to me, we were already up at the semi-pro with the Puma League.
Yes.
So it was kind of, and Noel then, he was already partnered with me with the Caribbean Stars. So it made sense. And I think these type of, nobody said it. Maybe you're brave to say it, but these type of things is easy to negotiate behind the scene when you have a certain amount of power and authority. And
That's
it's the same thing with this history we're doing right now. The point is, we're the only one that really have the A1 authority to do these things. It's our history, it's the uniqueness of it. And I'm glad that I just, found someone who really, because I've been prying, I knew the gist of the whole thing, but I wouldn't say whether they're brave enough or whatever, but people been staying away from making that comment.
No, it absolutely was. And I mean, one of the things I remember, because there was always that frustration around that time in football, because there was some brilliant players, but who weren't given opportunities to get looked at by the Canadian Soccer Association from our community, players from our community. And we knew that our players were at the level to be playing in there. And there was a point in time when it seemed like the entire team was being picked in BC and Edmonton. And I remember Kevin Pipe, who was then the president of the CSA, who was the one who was putting on the Caribana Cup in my office. And we talked about style of play. And I challenged him. I said, how is it that Canada is not more competitive when we have literally players from all over the world, all of those great countries coming here? And why are we not seeing them? And one of the things he said is, well, they don't fit our style of play. I said, what does that, I don't understand what you're saying. And he made a comment to me, which made me realize, he said, if Maradona was in Canada, we wouldn't pick him for our team because he wouldn't fit our style of play. That was the president of the Canadian Soccer Association. So when I heard that, I understood the barriers that our game had, our community had to get in there. When
we have come a long way, because right now the representation is totally different now.
Absolutely.
We have come a long way. And I found since I started covering it over the years, that wasn't happening, and whether there was a quota, but this new coach, it seemed like it's all about winning. And even Toronto FC has evolved. It's all about winning. And once it's all about winning, everybody go get a fair share.
Everybody play. And it's also style of players change. Because as I mentioned, the Canadian team, when you see them play, it is a possession style game. And it will hit you up. Whereas before, it used to be just sit back, absorb pressure, and have one man up front and long ball and it's on the counter. So that's where Pipe was saying, well, Maradona wouldn't fit in it. Maradona would just be standing around watching the ball go over his head like a tennis ball. But today, because the style of players changed, then our community, where that is how we play. I mean, Trinidad plays, soca ball. Jamaica play reggae ball. It's a flavor of football. It's not just ball we're playing. It's a lifestyle. And that culture now fits into Canadian football in the same way we now more fit in to Canadian society. Canadian society It's not us who changed. It's Canadian society has changed, and Canadian football has now changed.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Well said. That's very true. Were you aware of the Malvern League at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you have any participation or anything in the Malvern League?
Didn't participate, but I've come out there and watched the games and listened to the
What you thought of the league and how you compare it? It's not right to compare it, but I'll compare it anyway to Flemingdon.
It was the similar vibe. I think the Malvern League had kind of a more of a soca vibe to it. If you understand, if what I say. So it had a lot of flair and a lot of things. I think if I say Flemingdon has a little more edge, where the Malvern League had a lot more the flair and the stuff. And it was, but both of them, the audience and the fans, that is what really made those leagues, the environment. Because when you come there and the fans are out there, people coming out with their kids, grandpa coming out to watch the games and cheer on, that is the part that you really, really miss. And from the very first time we turned up at Plymouth, that's what we really felt. It was that energy from our community. You can't replicate that, man.
Okay, so let's say about you though, is I remember you on the park. You are who you are right now. You was always a vocal guy. You was a vocal guy then, and you have your passion now. You still have your passion because.
And I'm glad to see you still carrying the love for the game and the passion. It's so important, and the work you're doing here, recording what's happening, the community of football in Canada is very powerful, man. So
yeah, thanks. So I want to thank you for giving me the information, because Imagination was a unique team. It's guys wish we could have used all the brain power at that time, in management or whatever, but I'm sure you guys in a good place now once you got your finish university and stuff. So I want to thank you for giving me the information, and this is going to be a unique part of this whole process.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Yeah.